like to know.
Can't stop thinking about it.
You actually have that story.
A number of those stories.
Yeah, no, but you have that. I don't know if you can share it, but let's throw this out there just in case. Can you tell the story about J.J. Abrams?
Oh, you know
I was
what?
actually hoping it was going to be actually Doctor Strange.
Oh, no.
Impressed.
No,
Yeah,
I can tell those stories later, but he has one of the greatest stories known to man.
Okay, so there. Just to wrap up this thought, I feel like magicians would be better served if they learned to more subtly guide people into the next thing, and they didn't meet force with force. By saying, no, I'll never tell you the secret, you make the secret the star of the show. And the secret should not be the star of the show. The secret should be the sauce that makes the story so wonderful, right? So, separate situation. Man, I know the exact day. It was Father's Day? Yeah, Father's Day.
Do you know the exact day?
4 years, 3 or 4 years ago.
It's while The Force Awakens was being shot.
Yeah.
This is the story. This is the beginning of this story.
Okay, so we've had on our comedy podcast, Night Attack, we've had Greg Grunberg from Heroes and a number of other projects.
And Felicity, thank you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. A good friend. And if you don't know, he and J.J. Abrams have been childhood friends.
Yeah, what's the story there? He's in everything.
Yeah, they literally grew up together. I mean, it's like
that's a good gig.
Yeah, right. And and so I mean, if I was J.J. Abrams, I'd throw Grundy in everything. He's amazing. He's fun and funny. So I get a text from a number I don't recognize saying, "Hey, how did David Blaine make it appear in an orange?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And then it says, "This is Grundy," and then it says, "I'm in England," and then it says, "JJ wants to know." And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep talking to my parents. And then the phone rings, and I answer the phone. It's from the same number. And clearly at a bar, Greg Grunberg says, "I have a raging schwoody, and I have to know how he did the trick."
What was the trick?
That's what I asked. I was like, well, which trick? He was like, David Blaine.
What do you think of an orange?
Obviously.
He said Harrison Ford thought of a card, and it was in an orange. And
that's when he kicked him out of his house, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a funny bit, actually.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge David Blaine fan, but that was funny.
But here's the backstory that you don't know about that bit.
Okay, so I was like, well, I haven't seen it, but if he described the effect, he was like, nah, let this guy explain. And then he hands the phone over, and he was like, hey, it's JJ. And I was like, shit, I'm talking to J.J. Abrams. And JJ is a magician. He knows his stuff on that, right? And so I get the broad strokes, and I'm like, okay, if it looks that clean, if in general somebody just thinks of a card and it's in an orange, I don't know how they did it, but the way I would do it is before the cameras were rolling, I would make sure to firmly establish what that card would be, so I would have time to sneak it into an orange, right? And
before the trick or during the trick?
I mean, when the cameras are rolling, who knows what that means,
gotcha,
right?
Okay.
So, and then JJ was like, no. He just, Harrison, and now I realize that for all I know, Harrison's in the room as well. Harrison swears.
Oh, because he's done the movie, yeah.
He just thought of a card, and it showed up in an orange. And so I'm just like, I was like, well, let me take a look at it and take a look. And I watch it, and magicians have this thought, the too clean principle. Like there's signal and then there's noise. If it's pure signal, for example, if I were to ask Cargill to think of a card, and then I were to, and he says, the Queen of Diamonds, and I were to pull back my shirt and you would see tattooed upon my body a Queen of Diamonds, that would be too clean. You would immediately think, there's no way that was natural. I have to suspect all this stuff. But if we added a lot of noise, like if I asked you to grab a deck of cards, you shuffle it, you pull out a card, you could change your mind 5 times.
Yeah.
That adds more noise. But when you pick the Queen of Hearts and I reveal that it's tattooed on my chest, now all of a sudden it's like I have no idea how that's possible, right? Watching the performance, it's like this is too much signal, not enough noise. Something definitely, I don't know what, but something happened before the camera rolls, right? And so sure enough, I call back. And Grundy doesn't even answer his own phone. JJ does. he's like, all right, what is it? I was like, man, it looks to me like something happened before those cameras rolled. And he goes, yeah, no, that's not what Harrison said. And I'm like, it's not for me to call Han Solo a liar, but I'm sure that's how he remembers it. Because again, that's another thing magicians rely on is the malleability of memory, right? And so Grundy gets the phone, super disappointed. He was like, well, thanks for nothing, Schwood. And so I say, you know what? I have some friends who worked on the special. let me find out what I can find out to confirm. But I'm telling you, something happened before the thing went. And so I call them and leave a message. Hours later, I get a phone call. God, I don't know if anything I'm about to say is true. This is a flight of fancy that very likely is fiction. So imagine a short story that ends like this.
I could tell that part of the story if I need me to, if for legal reasons.
I get a phone call from my friend who worked on the show. And I say, like, weirdest day ever. J.J. Abrams called me. Harrison Ford wants to know, this is what happens. It looks to me like something happened before the cameras were rolling. Tell me I'm not crazy, because I'd like to think I know a thing or two about magic. And the guy says, well, number one, yes, of course something happened before the cameras were rolling. I was like, but Harrison Ford said he just thought of a card and it was just in an orange. And he says, yeah, because he was high. Watch it again. And sure enough, if you watch that clip,
He's high
his
as
pupils
fuck.
are larger than his face. He's clearly
Han Solo was stoned out of his mind and watched them stoned out of his mind, watched them put the entire trick together where they put all of the cards in all these various places, completely forgot that they put the cards in all the places, thought of a card, and holy shit, it's in an orange.
I don't know if it's true. As far as, you know what, to Mr. Ford's lawyer, I just assume this is fiction. I've always assumed it's fiction, but that certainly is a satisfying end to the tale if it were true.
Sounds like